Eric Forrester was dying. The doctors had made it clear, without a heart transplant, he wouldn't survive another month. Every specialist, every option, had been exhausted. And just when hope seemed out of reach, a glimmer emerged. A viable match. A rare, precise genetic fit. But the name shocked everyone. Jack Finnegan, Finn's adoptive father. Jack wasn't just a match. He was the only match. The Forrester family was desperate. Ridge had collapsed from the pressure. Brooke tried to stay strong, but her hands trembled every time she touched Eric's. Steffi, though, became a machine organizing schedules, making calls, demanding updates, refusing to even consider losing her grandfather. But behind the scenes, someone else was already moving. Taylor Hayes knew the stakes. She had seen the scans, read the prognosis. She also knew something no one else did. Jack Finnegan wasn't just Finn's father, he was Luna's biological father, too. A truth she'd buried for decades. A secret she had carried like a stone in her chest. Jack had confided in her years ago, in a moment of panic and guilt, after an affair with Poppy Nozawa. He had never told Lee, never told Finn, and certainly never told Luna. He didn't even know where the child had ended up until recently, when Luna's involvement with the Forresters brought her face to face with her buried origin. Taylor had recognized the signs immediately. The resemblance. The timelines. The blood work. It all fit. Taylor kept the truth hidden for Luna's sake, for Finn's, for the fragile peace between families. But now, with Eric on the edge of death, she saw an opportunity. One that would save a life and protect her silence. She approached Jack privately, away from Lee, away from Finn, away from Steffi. Her voice was steady, her tone clinical, but her words cut sharp. If he agreed to donate his heart, not now, but when the time came, should something happen to him, she would make sure no one ever knew about Luna. His affair. His paternity. The bloodline scandal would stay buried. Jack was stunned, torn between his own guilt, fear, and a desire to protect the people he loved. But in the end, he agreed. Quietly, reluctantly, out of love for Finn, for Eric, for redemption. Preparations for the transplant began. Eric's body was stabilized, placed under constant observation, and for a moment it seemed like there was a plan. Like there was hope. But secrets don't stay secret for long, especially not in the Forrester world. Steffi, while reviewing Eric's medical records and matching protocols, stumbled across a flagged document in a restricted file. The name Jack Finnegan glared back at her. Confused, she dug deeper. It didn't make sense. Why Jack? Why now? And then she found it, the digital trail. Taylor's encrypted messages. The signed NDA. The meeting logs. The DNA reports. It all unraveled in an instant. Her mother had struck a deal behind her back, behind everyone's back. And worse, Jack was Luna's biological father. Not just Finn's. Not a distant figure. The father, which meant Luna and Finn weren't biologically related. The very foundation of their bond, their trust, their understanding was built on a lie. Steffi exploded. She confronted Taylor first, furious and betrayed. You lied to me. You used Eric's life like a bargaining chip. Taylor, cornered and remorseful, tried to explain that she had been desperate, that she was trying to protect everyone, that Jack had only agreed because she offered him the only thing he wanted, silence. But Steffi didn't want justifications. She wanted truth. And justice. She stormed into the hospital the night before Eric's final pre-op consultation and confronted Jack. Her voice shook with rage as she laid out the ultimatum. Come clean, or she would. Tell Finn. Tell Lee. Tell Luna. Everything. Jack begged her to reconsider. He wasn't ready. Finn didn't know. Lee would never forgive him. And Luna, she had built her entire identity on the belief that she and Finn shared something sacred. To destroy that now, so publicly, would ruin her. But Steffi didn't care. She had watched her family torn apart by secrets. Luna had tried to kill her. Finn had almost left her over lies. And now her grandfather's life was hanging by a thread because of one more twisted deal. Enough was enough. The next morning, she called a family meeting at Forrester Creations. Ridge, Brooke, Taylor, Finn, Lee, Luna, and Jack all gathered in the conference room, thinking it was about Eric's surgery. But Steffi stood at the head of the table, eyes blazing. "I'm done with lies," she said. "If we're going to save Eric, we're going to do it with the truth." Silence fell, and then she dropped the bombshell. "Jack isn't just your father, Finn. He's Luna's too." Gasps. A sharp inhale from Luna. Finn froze. Taylor looked away. Jack tried to speak, but no sound came out. "What?" Luna whispered. "What did you just say?" Steffi turned to her. "He had an affair with your mother. Years ago. You're his daughter." And Taylor knew. She used it to manipulate him into agreeing to donate his heart to Eric. Finn staggered back, stunned. "So we're not related?" "No," Steffi said coldly. "You never were. But everyone let you believe it." Luna's legs gave out. She collapsed into a chair, shaking. Her whole life, every memory, every emotional thread connecting her to Finn, ripped to shreds in seconds. She turned to Jack, eyes wide with betrayal. "You're my father? You lied to me my whole life." Jack could only nod, tears welling in his eyes. "I didn't know where you were. I thought Poppy raised you without ever telling you about me. I never knew you'd be here. I never meant for this, but it was too late." The room descended into chaos. Lee screamed at Jack, her face a mask of fury. Ridge tried to calm the shouting. Brooke pulled Taylor aside, demanding to know why she'd kept it all hidden. Finn walked out without a word, and Luna sat frozen, as if the ground had vanished beneath her feet. The transplant, suddenly, was no longer a medical emergency. It was a moral dilemma. Could Eric's life be saved if the cost was destroying another? Should Jack still donate, knowing the terms of his agreement were compromised? Days passed. Finn refused to speak to his father. Luna shut herself in a hotel. Eric's condition worsened. And Steffi, as always, stood at the eye of the storm, holding the weight of the family on her shoulders. And then came the call. Jack had been found unconscious at home. Heart attack. Massive. Fatal. No chance of revival. Eric's heart had arrived, but at a devastating cost. The transplant went forward, rushed and critical. Eric survived, barely. But the family was forever changed. At Jack's funeral, Luna didn't cry. She stood at the back, silent, distant. Finn approached her, but she turned away. "You're still my sister," he said quietly, "even if not by blood." "No," Luna replied. "I'm no one's sister anymore. I don't even know who I am." She left without another word. Taylor resigned from her practice. Guilt ate her alive. Lee divorced Jack posthumously, filing public statements denouncing his betrayal. And Steffi returned to the office, more guarded than ever, more ruthless, more determined to never let secrets cost her family another life. The name Forrester still shone on the building. But behind the glass, everything had changed. Blood had been spilled. And it wasn't over yet. Luna Nozawa vanished. After the funeral, after the revelations, after the world she knew collapsed into dust, she packed her things, left her resignation on Steffi's desk, and disappeared. No one knew where she'd gone, not Finn, not Poppy, not even Ridge. One day she was there, and the next she was gone, like a ghost that had never belonged in the Forrester world to begin with. Rumors circled: New York, Tokyo, Paris. Some said she was in rehab. Others said she was building her own label. But no one had answers. Only silence. Steffi tried to forget her, but it wasn't that easy. Luna had left wreckage in her wake. A shattered family, broken trust, and a string of brand deals Forrester had to renegotiate after clients pulled away, fearing association with the chaos. Worse, she left behind questions that gnawed at the edges of Steffi's mind. Not just about Luna, but about Jack. About Taylor. About how much more had been hidden from her, because Eric's recovery was not smooth. Despite the transplant, complications emerged. Rejection risks, medication misfires, blood pressure crashes in the middle of the night. He was alive, yes, but fragile. And every time he gripped her hand in the hospital bed, Steffi felt a chill, as if life had bargained to keep him there, but at a price they hadn't fully understood. Finn, meanwhile, was barely holding himself together. His foundation, already shaky after the lies about his adoption, had been obliterated. Jack, the man who raised him, was also the man who lied the most. And Luna, the woman he once thought was his blood sister, had turned out to be not just a stranger, but part of a conspiracy that nearly tore his wife apart. He avoided Poppy. He cut contact with Taylor. Evenly, his mother, became a stranger for a while. He buried himself in the hospital, taking on double shifts, refusing interviews, hiding behind stethoscopes and charts. But everyone saw the cracks. Steffi tried to reach him, to bring him back, but he pushed her away. "You don't understand," he said one night, quietly, after coming home late. "Everything I believed about myself, my family, my identity, was a lie. You still have your roots. I don't have any." "Yes, you do," she replied. "You have me, you have our kids. You have this family." But Finn didn't answer. He kissed her on the forehead, gently, like a farewell, and slept on the couch. Things got worse before they got better. Tabloids picked up Luna's exit and spun it into scandal. Illegitimate Forrester daughter leaves in shame. Love triangle shattered by paternity bombshell. Who will lead Forrester now? The board grew restless again. Donna, shaken by Eric's condition, stepped back from her duties. Brooke tried to step up, but the fashion world smelled blood in the water. New competitors emerged. Media speculated about the collapse of the Forrester dynasty. And then came the envelope. It was delivered anonymously, slid under Steffi's office door. Inside was a single flash drive and a short note. Asterisk, you think you know everything. You don't. Watch this. Asterisk against her better judgment. She plugged it in. The video was grainy surveillance footage, dated 2 months prior. It showed a conversation, dim, muffled, but clear enough to identify the faces. Taylor and Poppy, on a rooftop. They were arguing. About Jack, about how long they'd kept the secret, about a second child. Steffi's blood ran cold. She played it again. There it was. Poppy's voice, barely above a whisper. Asterisk, you think Luna's the only one? You think Jack only fathered one child? There was another. I just never told him. Never told anyone. Not even her. Asterisk, Steffi stared at the screen. Another child. Another secret sibling. Another ticking bomb. The next day, she confronted Taylor again. What aren't you telling me? She demanded. Taylor's eyes filled with dread. She tried to deny it. Tried to deflect. But Steffi wouldn't let go. She pressed harder, sharper. Finally, Taylor broke. Yes, she admitted. There was someone else. Poppy gave up another baby, long before Luna. She told me once, in confidence, and I didn't think it mattered then. I didn't know it would come back. Where is she? Steffi asked. I don't know, Taylor said. No one does. She was adopted. The records were sealed. Poppy never followed up. But Steffi knew better. Secrets always had a way of clawing themselves to the surface in Los Angeles. If there was another sibling out there, she wouldn't stay hidden for long. And she was right. Because halfway across the world, in Milan, a young fashion designer named Ayla Tanaka had just received an unexpected email. No name, no signature, just a single sentence, asterisk, ask your mother who your real father is. Then come to Los Angeles. Asterisk and Ayla, bold and ambitious, with a strange feeling she never quite belonged to the life she'd lived. Packed her sketchbooks, booked a flight, and stepped onto a path that would lead straight into the heart of the Forrester storm. Back in LA, the family braced for more fallout. Steffi knew this wasn't over. Luna had been the beginning. Ayla was the next chapter. And in the shadows, someone, maybe Poppy, maybe someone else entirely, was pulling strings. The Forresters weren't just fighting to survive anymore. They were fighting to find out who they really were. And the truth was only getting darker.